Hello, everyone, and welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason.
I'm Andy.
And we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday, after the comics have been delivered and we finish bagging and boarding them, we divide them up, and Andy and I read the ones we've most been waiting for, the ones we think most people want to hear about, so that we do our spoiler light reviews of them. Now, we're going to tell you collectible reasons you might want these comics, first appearances, deaths, major events, things like that. But even more so, we're going to tell you what a lot of these issue number ones are about. So many number ones out every single week. It's some of what I love about comics, but it also makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes. So we're going to try to connect the right person with the right comic. We're going to tell you what it's about, what the art style is, and all that. Pretty decent sized week.
Yep.
Shockingly, last week was the big Star Wars week, but I swear there's a lot of Star Wars this week too.
I guess next week there'll be none. I don't know.
And the week after,
with none.
Yeah, where is the Star Wars drought? So anyhow, we have the first few books we're going to do out here. We're going to show all the variants, all the incentives. So kick back and relax, and let's begin.
Yeah, starting with a big one. Our next kind of chapter in the dawn of DC. This is Adventures of Superman, John Kent, #1. So a lot has kind of already known about this series. We know that it's leading up to Injustice and all of that, but starting out here on the ground floor, this is by Tom Taylor, who had been writing the Superman Son of Kal-El series, so he's got a good voice for John Kent. And the art is by Clayton Henry, who I think one of the highlights of this book is Clayton Henry's art. It's clean. It's just realistic enough, but still has some room for emoting and everything. I really like it. So this actually begins with another universe where it looks like someone is going around and killing Kal-El Supermans in different worlds or multiverses. I feel like all this I kind of knew going into it. They've pretty much told the beginning of this story about, we know that it's Ultraman doing this, and how he's doing it, how he actually kind of has a leg up on Superman, don't quite know yet. And what his overall plan, other than he's just a bad guy, not sure. But we actually joined John and Jay, his boyfriend, as they are just going out for a leisurely walk. It is noted that John is now, he's got his secret identity back, so he can go out in public. He talks about how nice it is that he can just walk around.
Thanks, Lex Luthor.
Yeah, I mean, if anything good came out of that. But that's when suddenly they notice something shooting across the sky. Something green, kind of looks like a meteor or something. And that's when John jumps to action. It sounds like all the rest of the super people are off planet doing something, so it's up to him to stop it. I promise I'm not giving away the whole issue, because I'm getting to one of the big parts of this is that is when he runs into Val Zod, the Superman of Earth 2, way back from the Earth 2 series, quite a few years ago now. And we knew that he was going to be in this. He's on some variant covers and everything, but that's where this really kicks off, is that's when he learns about Ultraman, and that he is going to have to join Val Zod and try to stop Ultraman before it's too late, before they can, before he gets to this universe's Superman. I really like this book. I didn't tell you everything. There's a lot of surprises. There's a lot of kind of who is behind a lot of this stuff. Looks like there's going to be more than just that surface level problem. But I thought it was great. Like I said, the art was fantastic. I'm really excited. This definitely does feel like part of that new dawn of DC, moving forward. It's a very superheroic.
It says it right at the top.
Exactly. But, it does feel like it's in this next new chapter of DC. The big thing I want to say is, you see on the cover, you see on the variant covers, him with that lightning blue S with the suit and everything. Hate to burst your bubble, he does not get that suit in this issue either.
They're just pulling us in.
I know. I'm wondering now when it's going to happen, because it's teased in this. There's some little lightning moments, but I don't even know if it'll happen in the next issue. We'll just have to wait and see. But they know they've got us on the hook for this new suit. So I'm gonna keep reading this. I thought this first issue was great. Definitely, if you've read any of the Earth 2 stuff, You will find a lot to like here because there's a lot of references back to that series without being, you know, hard to understand. So this is our A cover. We have this is the Sarmento variant, which once again we got that suit on there. We've got our Kaplan variant. They got the memo that he's not going to get that suit in this issue. And we have this very angsty John Kent Orzu variant. But overall, really fun start to this new series. All the Superman stuff is just really, really good right now.
Okay, so my first one's a Marvel book. It is X23 Deadly Regenesis. So this is going to be set back in the past. This is sort of Laura Kinney back when she was called X23. It's after she's gotten out of the program, after she's been with the X-Men, but it's not like sort of right up to modern day Krakoa or anything like that. They'll give you a time period if you read it. They actually kind of reference a few things where you can figure out when. This is written by Erica Schultz with art by Edgar Salazar. And a lot of what this is it's her sort of musing on who am I? You know, I've been an assassin, I've been an X-Men, I've been used for a lot of things, and I've gained my freedom, but I'm just now sort of getting used to it. So it's her musing on that. And of course, something terrible happens where she proves that she is a superhero. You know, she's willing to run into fires to save people. So it's a lot of setup with her and her personality, but behind the scenes, she gets noticed. I mean, when you're a superhero, you're going to get noticed. And so if you have a pass, it's going to catch up with you. Well, she has her pass handler, what's her name? Kimura. Kimura is X23's pass handler from previous series, back when she was in the program, and she sees her, and she's going to unleash another enemy from the past that we've never seen before. So this has a first appearance of a new character called Haymaker. This is a person who is sort of an enhanced boxer in the ring. So we get first full appearance of them out of costume, but at the end we get first cameo of them in costume. They also have like their superhero I'm Haymaker garb when they show up at the end. So that's sort of what this series is about. That's sort of reason you might want to get it, and that's a little bit of what's going on in X23 Deadly Regenesis #1. We have some variants here. We have the Aka variant. And then we have this Stormbreaker Casa Grande variant. We say Stormbreaker all the time. It's what Marvel calls like their newer artists.
Yeah, every year they put out a kind of a new... give new artists the title of Stormbreaker.
They used to call them the Young Guns.
Yeah.
If you remember that, even before that. I'd also like to mention that this week they're also doing a facsimile of X23 #1. So this also releases this Wednesday. This is from her first sort of ongoing series, or her first, you know, I think it went like 12 issues or something. But this is back from 2005, so I think that's some really good synergy they did. Let's do an issue on her history, and then anybody who wants more, here's a lot of where she started.
Okay, next up, I've got a pretty big book this week for people reading Spider-Man. This is Amazing Spider-Man #21, and this is what these 20 issues before had been leading up to, at least the beginning of it.
What did Peter do?
What did Peter do? That was how that first issue kind of kicked off, was what did he do to make his life even worse than Peter Parker's life usually is. So this is done very well. It was kind of how I expected. So we've got kind of a modern day right in the beginning, and then a flashback to 1 year ago. So basically these 20 issues have happened in the course of a year. So I don't want to give too much away, but for those who've been wanting answers to what happened between Peter and Mary Jane, we'll say that you do start getting hints about it when a new villain shows up. Well, a villain shows up in the present, and that leads us to when did we see them last in the past, a year ago. So it's kind of that like, uh-oh, this person's back. Now let's see what they did before. And it goes all the way back to what happened in Amazing Spider-Man 894, where Peter and MJ were just kind of casually talking about him moving in with her. They saw a bright light, and then that's kind of where the what did Peter do things start. So this goes all the way back and picks up right from where we left off, where we find out, and I believe it's a new character. I don't want to be like, oh, it's Doc Ock again, and he's messing with stuff. No, I believe this is a new character that is causing this. And it looks like for the next few issues, I think 3 or 4 issues, we're going to get a more drawn out story of what brought them to the point of later. So you don't get all your answers in this one, but I feel like for those who have been wondering or been like, I want to find out what happened to them. How could, a relationship that was so strong break up and MJ move on so fast? It does look like there may even be some time travel involved. We'll have to see. It doesn't say it completely, but that is Amazing Spider-Man 21. I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this. And then they say, I think the next 2 issues are like some of the craziest Amazing Spider-Man issues to date, where you find out more of what happened. But this is just kicking it off.
Crazier than finding the Department of Talking Sandwiches.
Nothing will beat that. That was just the best thing to happen. We have this Basildua variant with Silk. I love how much Silk is getting spotlight. She's like one of the main characters in Spider-Man. We also have this Disney 100 variant where who knew that Goofy was a Hulk? Who knew?
It's the person you don't expect. When you get angry. He gets really angry. Okay. So next up, I read Batman issue number 133. I've really enjoyed this arc a lot. This is by the Batman team of Chip Zdarsky and Mike Hawthorne. And let's see, what do we have on the cover here? It looks like Batman is digging up a grave. It says Bruce Wayne, and behind him is somebody who looks a lot like Alfred with a sword. This scene mostly happens.
Wow.
Except Alfred doesn't have a sword. He has something more lethal. I feel like they hadn't discussed what weapon he would have yet. It doesn't really matter anyway, ultimately. It matters for the scene, but it's not like,
It's his weapon choice, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, Bruce Wayne has been in this alternate Gotham. He got sent there by Failsafe, and he learned that the Bruce Wayne of this Gotham has been dead. Well, this issue, he's going to find out what killed him. And so, yes, to do that, he's going to have to perform a one-man autopsy. Of course, he's going to run into Alfred of this universe. He's going to run into Selina Kyle again of this universe. But who can he trust? I mean, everybody is so different. Even Joker's in this universe and has a regular name. His name is something Holiday. But there's the main villain of this universe, Red Mask. Who is he? You get to see some of Red Mask in action this issue, and it looks like he's a very fast fighter. Now, I'm not necessarily saying Speed Force fast, but maybe. But that's one of the big secrets they're holding on to in this. So a lot more revelations, another excellent issue of this arc of Bruce Wayne as Batman in another Gotham that lost their Bruce Wayne. Really interesting stuff. Let's see. So I have some variants here. This is the Quesada variant. And then there's also a Batman 357 facsimile out this week. It comes in 3 different flavors. Vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry. Now, it comes in foil, which I particularly like. So it's the regular cover, but foil. There is just a regular non-foil cover. I didn't bring that. I mean, it's like this one, but it doesn't shine. And lastly, there's the blank one. Now, this issue is famous for many reasons. I'd say the 2 biggest is it's the first appearance of Jason Todd and Killer Croc in the single issue. So I think this is a great one to get the blank and have your favorite artist do something on it. So
it's an interesting way to do a facsimile. I haven't seen them do the foil and everything before.
I agree.
It's kind of spicing it up.
Variants, and honestly, it's been a little controversial. Some people have been like, variants are now on facsimiles. I don't know how much I love that personally, but I think their choices were pretty good.
Yeah. And is it truly a facsimile when it wasn't originally shiny?
That's a good point.
Okay, next up we have a new Predator #1 from Marvel. So the previous Predator series ended, and they thought it's time to start a new number one. But with the same writer, Ed Brisson is writing this one, and the art is done by Netho Diaz. I gotta say, the art in this is kind of exactly what I want for a Predator book. It's pretty, like actiony, super detailed, everything. Not like hyper realistic, but just like you know, what you want to see with an action book that's going to have a lot of over the top predator stuff going on. So, I will say you did not have to have read the previous Predator series to get into this one. I know that's always kind of a weird thing when you have the same writer. It's like, how much are the threads they going to pull over? I will say there is some reward if you have read the previous one, but is not you're not hindered by it. So this one is, I thought, really good. Actually, I think this is a better Predator number one than the previous Predator number one, because this hits more of kind of I think the feel that they're going for. If you've seen Predators, the movie where they're all dropped onto the planet and then they kind of have to survive as the predators hunting them, that's kind of the story here. So we get dropped right into the action as some characters are parachuting into this place. Apparently, they've just woken up as they're parachuting into this, of course, a jungle environment. And it immediately starts. A guy lands, some more humans run by, and he just runs with them as he's like, where am I? What's going on? Kind of that classic thing. And they're like, oh, keep running. It's right behind us or whatever. So I'd say for the first, like, half of this book is that it is kind of like you wanted predators. Here's predators doing what they do. They've got all of their, their throwing weapons, their claws, the stealth, everything is in this. But I think what it starts getting really interesting is when finally our characters can take some. I don't know when they can ever feel safe, but apparently they think they found somewhere where they're safe, and they start discussing what's the last thing you remember. And to some, the last thing they remember, it was like 1987, some 2005, some 2048. As they start to piece together, was this time travel, or have the predators been picking us up for years, putting us in kind of a cryo sleep to drop us on this place? That part's really cool. That's where you get to know your characters, but also predators are not the only thing you got to worry about on this planet, because they're hunting humans, but they're also hunting other things, and those things may also be hunting the humans. So I don't see how anyone makes it out of this alive. This is pretty brutal in the best Predator way. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was well written, and the art was fantastic. Just really, really fun for a new Predator number one from Marvel. And we have this Baron's variant as well, where you kind of get a hint of, like, he's not just hunting humans. Anything that is kind of an apex predator will be in this.
Okay, so this is a really good pick this week. It is clear number one, a new Dark Horse series by Scott Snyder with art by Francis Manapul. So Snyder, he's a great writer.
Yeah.
He's been a part of so many good things. Manapul is an excellent artist. So, I mean, what a team you have right there. The premise is this is set in the future, and it's not so far in the future it's like crazy, but it is far enough in the future that everyone is able to use this technology called the veil, where it affects their mind to change what you see, what your reality is. So if you want to see the world as like you're living in the 1940s, well, that's what you see. Everyone looks that way. Everything looks that way. That's just your reality, though. If you want to see the world looking like anime, you can. So clearly this is shown in the art style. I feel like Francis Manapul was like, hey, Snyder, give me a real tough project. I dare ya. And this is what he came up with. But Manapul, he has risen to the obligation, and he has done a fantastic job, because you get to see parts of different people's realities throughout it. The art changes. It's not super jarring, though. It's not like every page, thankfully. Yeah. It's just in snippets. Now, we have our main character you see on the cover, who is a detective. Now, why is the book called Clear? Because there is one setting you can have in this tech where it clears away everything. You just see the world as it is. And he claims that he doesn't know anyone else who uses it but him. He likes it that way. So right away, as a reader, I think most of you are going to feel like me. You're going to be like, that's cool. I might want to play around with this, but I wouldn't want to live that way. How could people have gotten that way? So I think he's a good focal character. Well, somebody who he used to be really close to ends up dead, and he has to investigate it. And you get the idea by the end of the first issue that it goes really far, that it's not just a simple death or murder or anything like that. So really, it's a lot of world building in this issue and getting to know our main character and why he is the way he is. Why is he old fashioned? But it's also getting into the spirit of the work. Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, there's a part where somebody hits him with a drug that makes it where your mind bleeds into others' visions of reality. And so he's like going through a bunch of them all at once. You knew you wanted that part in this book. It's there.
You want the mashup.
So, by the way, this is a double-sized first issue for just $4.99. I think that's the way every comic should start. So, anyhow, highly recommend it. I think this is a really good indie comic that I think everyone's going to enjoy. It's a very cool first issue. All of the variants but one are done by Manipul. So, of the ones I'm going to show, this is the first Manipul variant. Here is the second. Then we've got the third. And then the last one I'm going to show is a Christian Ward variant. I should mention, I said earlier in the show we were going to show variants and incentives. We actually are not showing incentives right now because our UPS order that gets to us on Mondays, how late? 4 hours late?
Easily, yeah.
Yeah, so we were way behind. But we pulled it together. The show must go on.
Yes, we sped read some of these, and slowed down for others when we needed to. But next up, I have, here it is, it's always hard to say, a New Mutants. This is a new series, New Mutants Lethal Legion #1 by Charlie Jane Anders. And this is so this does I wasn't sure at first, but this kind of picks up where the previous New Mutant series left off, or at least kind of a divergence from it. I'm not positive if this is replacing it. I don't think it is. I think this is just a mini series, but it spotlights on the new character Escapade. I always mispronounce that. Escapade. And she's really interesting. She's where she can swap positions with other characters, which I remember when that first came out, we were like, we got to have more explanation. How does this work? Because it's switch positions with characters and situations. I feel like in this, it's mostly locations, but so in this, it does pick up. So I kind of had to feel my way with the team from New Mutants that's currently going on, but it's Escapade and the New Mutants team going up against a human facility, which of course is the bad guys, as they're trying to break in there and free some mutants. This is narrated by Escapade, so you get a little bit more of her explanation of her powers and when she uses them. It's actually really fun. It's a lot of like, you got a security guard standing there, and then suddenly they're swapped, and she's standing there in their gear, and they're like looking around confused back where she was standing. But it's pretty cool how much she can do it and kind of like move that way by going and switching places with other people. Seems super powerful, and I wonder like what could stop her, because I mean, you just keep swapping places till like all the security guards are in the jail and all the mutants are out type thing. But that's kind of where this starts. We find out about kind of her relationship with the New Mutant Cerebella, and they're all young, and so they're having fun and everything. But there is a mission that they're sneakily trying to do. I won't say why they're doing it, but they're going to attempt to break into a vampire facility. And wouldn't you know it, Scout overhears. I believe used to be Honey Badger, but it's now Scout, the
yes.
Laura Kinney's kind of sidekick. She wants in too, and they decide the best way to break into this place is by going in with disguises. And I won't give away everything, but imagine a bunch of kids they get inside of the X-Men kind of armory where all of the pouches and all of the visors and all of the helmets are all kept, and they get to piece together their own outfits and their new identities they're going to take on. It is very funny, and it's, of course, they just pile stuff on. They look very 90s, but I won't give that away. You've got to read it. It was a fun issue. I will say, for me, who hasn't been completely caught up with New Mutants, it did take me a second to kind of feel my feet out in here and figure out like who currently is on the New Mutants team. Like, you'll see on one of the variants, Magic is on it. Magic is not a member of it currently, but they do that kind of thing that the X-Men books do. They give you a dramaticus personae or whatever of the cast in the beginning. So that is our A cover. We have this Greg Land variant with Magic. I guess once a New Mutant, always a New Mutant.
She'll probably be back, because they'll have to deal with her at some point.
Yeah. And then I believe Marvel's hard to tell all the time which artists do what covers, because they don't put the names always on the covers, but I believe this is the Fuji variant. But you do have Wolfsbane. You've got some familiar faces on the team, too.
Okay, so I read the 4th issue of Mary Jane and Black Cat. Of course, they're in that tower trying to get the Soul Sword for the demon who wants to control Limbo so that he will take them back to Earth. And they've teamed up with a demon, but last issue they were in some serious trouble. Well, this issue begins right after that, where it turns out the guardian of this tower, who's this terrible monster, is going to devour them when Mary Jane has figured out the secret Black Cat has been keeping from her. So if you've read even the first issue of this, you know what that secret is.
Yeah.
But more than that, she figured out that this secret has kept Black Cat feeling guilty, which made her sort of her enemy unknowingly, like subconsciously in Felicia's mind. It made Mary Jane her enemy. And so Mary Jane has been trying to use her powers, which are based on luck of what she gets, and she's been extremely unlucky. Well, let's just say by the end of this issue, she finally strikes gold. She finally gets maybe the best power she can get out of her powers. You'll have to read the issue to see what it is, but pretty cool. And even though things might turn out okay with them, I mean, I think you can assume they don't die in this issue. Even if they get the Soul Sword, the question is, how are they going to get past all the armies that have surrounded this tower? I'm not saying this necessarily answered in this issue, though, because this is the second to last issue. There's one more issue after this to go. So another great and fun issue of Mary Jane and Black Cat. We have this Daughterman variant.
Very cool.
Yep, a lot of orders for this one. We have a lot of Black Cat fans around here, including myself. And then, if that's not enough for you, the Alex Ross. So yeah, many of us are buying 3 of the same issues this week between the A cover and these 2 covers. But so be it, as long as the art is worth it.
I hope Daughterman does a Mary Jane cover with all of her looks throughout the years, because she's had quite a few distinct looks.
For sure.
Okay, next up, I've got some Star Wars books to go over, starting with what I think is the big one, and you'll see why with the variant cover. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunters number 32. A couple of things about this book. One, kind of surprising, something happens in it. I won't say what, and it's kind of like the story's going along, and then boom, something happens, and you're like, what was that? And then it's like, to find out about that, read Star Wars Hidden Empire number 5, which is not out for like 3 weeks or something, and it's the big finale of the big Star Wars event going on. I'm like, oh, that seems significant. So I'm not sure if the timing got thrown off, or they thought this isn't enough of a spoiler to like spoil what's going to happen, but apparently something pretty big happens in that final issue if this goes by anything. Fun thing about this issue, it actually jumps back and forth back in time, where you see Zuckuss, one of the core Empire Strikes Back bounty hunters. You see him on the cover. You actually see him on his home planet, and kind of some backstory on him growing up, and you see him without all of his like apparatus on. He's got kind of like a bug head. Very cool. I love when they do that and explore more of these characters' backstories. But in the current story, they're being pursued by Inferno Squadron. So that's what this issue is really big. It is the first, I guess, full appearance of the Inferno Squadron. We have constantly had, I think they've had like 3 cameos, like 1 page, 1 panel, things for a couple of months now. But this is finally, they are integrated into the story as they are chasing down these bounty hunters. So you'll have to read it, but it does seem like they are going to be around for a little while. They're not dealt with in this. Looks like they're going to be kind of an ongoing threat to the bounty hunters. So this is our A cover. And here's the big one. This is, I think, the one a lot of people are going to want. Like, they knew going into it that this was going to be big. This is the Stott variant. So you see at the very top, Inferno Squadron. You've got them all there. Inversio right in the middle. So I think this is going to be a hot cover this week, spotlighting that team. We also have the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi cover. And we have the Peach Momoko Nakano Lash Women's History Month variant. And then the next one I want to talk about was our next issue of Santa Starros, #2. So this was a really fun issue. What I like about this series is it seems like it's going to be dealing a lot with her family. And if you've read any of the High Republic stuff, you know that the name Starros is actually kind of a famous name from a long time ago. And that's dealt with a little bit, not all the way back as the High Republic, but you do find out some significant things they did in previous generations. Even so much as maybe one of them was a member of a group seen in a actual Star Wars movie. So it's a little retroactive putting them in there, but I think it's gonna be cool to go back and watch Solo and see if you can spot this character in it. So that was really fun. And as you can see on the cover, Diva Lumpop, the bounty hunter that is kind of ageless, makes an appearance in here. It seems like she's going to be pretty heavy in the next issue. So that was a really fun issue of that. We also have the Peach Momoko variant for Santa Starros with, what was her name? Grammy Thea Starros, Sana's grandmother. Then I'll get around to one more Star Wars book in a little bit.
Okay. So next up, I read Flash #794. This is 1 Minute War Part 5. Right on the cover, we have Irie. This does kind of happen as far as Irie is a very major part of this issue because Ms. Murder is trying to get power from a lot of the heroes that the faction have rounded up. Like they've rounded up Superman and other big heroes who are sort of frozen. And apparently they're going to use them in some way, probably as batteries or some matrix.
It's always something like that.
Yeah. So it's up to her to save them if she can and to save her brother. So she gets sort of her moment in the sun in this issue. Past that, things are getting very bad in the war itself, though. The Flash family has been sort of located. The faction is sort of closing in on them, but it seems that Barry has a plan. We might not see it this issue, but maybe you could figure it out if you read the issue. So another cool issue of Flash. We have this variant. It is the D'Alfonso variant. I should also mention that Irie comes up with her hero name.
Oh.
Finally. That was something that's been a dangling thread for a long time. She picks out her superhero name. If you read this, you can find out what it is. And I would also like to mention that the Flash 1 Minute War Start the Clock is out this week. This is just collecting the first 3 issues of Flash that were 1 Minute War. That's what this is. A lot of people, kind of got into it later and they wanted to just go ahead and collect that first bit of it. So if you already have all these, you don't necessarily need it. Just wanted you to know what it was. And if you haven't been reading 1 Minute War, this is a quick, easy way to catch up.
That's good to know, because I know a lot of people be like, oh, is this like a one-shot tie-in or something? DC's been doing this for a little...
They were nice enough that on the bottom, it does say collecting issue 790, 792. I'm really happy about that.
Yeah,
the last thing we want... Like, people might say, oh, well, you're a comic store. People buy more. It's like, yeah, but then they come back and...
They're frustrated.
Yeah, we don't want anyone tricked. I mean, we're all about information. That's why we do this show.
Yeah. Okay, next up, I have a book I've really been enjoying. This is Scarlet Witch, number 3. I keep feeling like we're further past that, but each issue has quite a bit in it. So, as you can see on the cover, in this issue, Polaris pays a visit to Wanda's store. So
red meets green.
I know.
It's a Christmas issue.
It's a Christmas issue as the sisters come together. Now, you have to see, why did Polaris come to visit? What's going on there? But it's a happy reunion. It's not like they show up and immediately start fighting for some reason. No, they actually get along really well, which is nice to see on occasion. But as Polaris is there, the magic door opens in the back. Of course, this door only opens if the person who steps through it is kind of this is their last resort, and it's Wanda's chance to help them. But what happens when it opens up and it doesn't look like anyone's standing there? They may be there, but they may be tiny. So we've got a fun shrinking issue going into a realm. But what I will say about this issue, it's structured very interesting. The beginning is very comic-like, but the middle of it is almost like a storybook. You've got a large page of art and then paragraphs, not even in caption boxes, just paragraphs around. It makes it feel very whimsical, adventure-y, all of that. It's very fun. But then a big thing happens at the very end of this that I won't give away, but it looks like we'll be setting up probably more of an ongoing story within this, as a mysterious character shows up in a pretty horrific way. So that is Scarlet Witch number 3. We also have the Alex Ross Timeless variant with Mephisto.
A very ripped Mephisto.
I was about to say Mephisto with abs for days, shining a light on him.
I just picture him doing crunches going field burn as people are burning around him.
We also have the David Nakayama, the MCU cover for WandaVision. Very cool. And then we have I believe this is the Carnero variant as well.
Okay, so I read Stoneheart number 1. This is the new series from Image by Emma Kubert, who does everything. She does the writing, she did the cover, she does the interior art. She is the granddaughter of Joe Kubert and the daughter of Andy Kubert. So just from a lineage of comic creators, and she's already just doing her own books, like every bit of them. So the interiors look a bit like this, but I would say less polished. The cover is more polished. It has a very sketchy indie feel to it, but with a lot of talent. So if you like that style, you may like the art a lot.
Joe Kubert had that style too. A lot of hatching marks and...
Yeah. So the interiors, part of this is done in black and white and part is done in color. It's really intentional though. The black and white is to tell sort of the history, and then the color parts are more, okay, now here's where things are. This tells the story of this paladin who has done some terrible misdeed. We don't know what it is. We just know that they've been captured. They were very powerful. It was hard to capture this person. And this is a young paladin. I think she's only 20 years old. And they erase her memory and banish her. Well, then we get to the present day, and she is this upbeat person. She's still in this medieval fantasy world, but she's this upbeat commoner. And she just is really good at stuff. You know, it's like she gets a job and they're like, wow, you're awesome at everything you do. Probably because she has all the experience points, you know,
Yeah.
racked up from her previous life. Well, of course, some things happen where some of the people from her past aren't done with her, and they're coming after her, and they're coming after even the new people who she has met. Things get bloody, people die. So, pretty good first issue of Stoneheart. I think the art is either going to win you over or not, though. Like if you go to a store where you can look at the book, take a look. I think the art style is really cool, really interesting, but I could also see some people being like, "Nah, I like my stuff more like polished than this." So that would be the one thing I would say to do if you can. But story-wise, the story's good. You can tell there's a lot of intent behind it. It's pretty clear. You can tell something big is building about this character and what they did and where this is going to go. So the other good thing, no variant, just the one cover. That's it.
She did enough. Doing all the interiors and everything. We don't need a variant. Okay, next up for me, I've got X-Men number 20. So I kind of have hopped on and off of X-Men for a little while, but issue 19 I really enjoyed. I thought it set up a lot of really interesting story arcs. Stuff with Forge and Penance jumping through the Krakoan gate into nowhere, the floating celestial head that had gone through a black hole. It's kind of one of those weird deep space exploration things, which is continued in here. Also, this is where you get your Magic. Magic is a big character in here, as she has been kind of put in charge of finding the Brood, that because all of this is centered around the Brood and jumping between this and Captain Marvel. But I thought this was really good. But the main thing I wanted to talk about this is the big reveal at the end. I'm not going to say who it is, but a big character from another Marvel series who we literally saw go off into the sunset has walked through the gate. And they are not necessarily a mutant. So when people find out who it is, I don't want to spoil it here, but if you're reading another series, you may want to hop over and see what's going on with this character here, because it is kind of one of those the character you least expect to walk through this gate, which I think is always really fun. So that
Howard the Duck.
You know, I would expect him more than who walks through this.
Yeah, because he's more like an absurd doing.
Yeah, he would do something like that. So this is the A cover. We also have the Alex Ross Timeless variant with Dark Phoenix.
Okay, so I read Moon Knight issue number 21. So once I started getting to this, these are the ones I went through a little bit quicker. I will read them more slowly when I do it in my free time because everything arrived so late today. I still did flip through and I tried to catch what I could. And what I'll say about this issue is Moon Knight's team ends up going to a rave. Now, I think this directly correlates with the fact that they just brought Blade into the series as of last issue. Once you have Blade in there, you got to end up at a rave, and you know things are going to go wrong. So that is one of the scenes that I spied in this. Also, Reese continues getting her training to be a vampire from Blade, and it looks like she's a pretty quick learner. So it looks like another good issue of Moon Knight from the regular creative team.
It must be hard to draw strobe lights. You like, picture black.
Yeah, you just have to write as the writer. All right, blink over and over again during this part. Very rapidly.
Some instructions.
Yeah. So here is the Horley variant for that issue.
Very cool. And like Jason, that's when I got to the point of not getting to read as in-depth as I wanted to. But we do have, speaking of Blade, Bloodline, Daughter of Blade, number 2, as the series continues. I did get to read most of this, not as in-depth as I would like, but you do get more of the fight between Bloodline and her friend, who we found out was a vampire at the end of the last one. And yes, we do get a team up, even though it's towards the end, with her father Blade in this. But will that go as easy as expected? Probably not, because it's Blade. So that is Bloodline number 2. We have the really nice Cola variant. We have the Tau variant. This is a very well designed character. When you have those characters, it's like they got a cool color, like the splash of like color in the hair, and then swords. Like you can do whatever with this. So here is the Tau, and then we have.
I just like the two hearts being, or the two O's being the heart with the stake.
Yeah, it's awesome.
In her title.
It's great design. And then we have the Momoko variant.
Okay, so I read Poison Ivy issue number 10. Our DC, now that showed up early. So I did read our DC. I actually read this yesterday. And in this issue, so Harley had come to visit and she couldn't stay. She was really sad, but she invited Ivy, why don't you come back to Gotham sometime? Well, in this issue, Ivy is like, yeah, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm going to Gotham to be with Harley.
She said, oh, my series got picked up as an ongoing. I guess I'll go back to Gotham.
However, that's not where this issue goes because her roommate convinces her, okay, well, on the way, I want to go to this health retreat. There's this woman and she's amazing. And Ivy, of course, is very pessimistic until she hears this woman says she's doing some sort of like good capitalism when it comes to nature. It's like using up nature, but in a good way. And Ivy's like, oh, this sounds bad. I got to destroy this woman's stuff. So they go to this retreat. I think that's a great setup. Somebody wanting to like, just sort of unveil why somebody is bad.
Yeah.
So they go to this retreat. And I won't tell you the whole thing, but I will tell you they do some crazy mushrooms that lead to wild visions and possibly an orgy. It's a crazy issue. See it for yourself. And what I will say, though, is there is something that Ivy didn't count on. Like, by the end of the issue, Ivy's like, uh-oh, there's something I didn't count on, and it might spell trouble for everyone there and possibly all of humanity. So, another cool issue of Poison Ivy. They're just doing whatever they want. Now that they're like, you have an ongoing book, it's like, okay.
We warned you. Here we go.
Break out the sauciness. And some good covers here. Here is the Josh Middleton cover.
So many good covers.
And the Jenny Frison cover.
Okay, next up I have Star Wars High Republic. This is issue number 6. This picks up right after the last one where the giant stone kind of guardian on Jeddah that we have seen in Rogue One in a pan-over shot that has been crashed to the ground that fell in the previous issue, and it's up to our main Jedi here to protect people under it by using the Force to hold up this ginormous statue, all the while a member of the Path of the Open Hand who don't believe you should be using the Force just tells them how horrible he is for saving them. It's a really good issue, and definitely the tension on Jeddah has been building. I believe this is a 10-issue story, so we've just kind of crested over into the second part of what's going to be going on in this one. But another great issue of High Republic. And we have Peach Momoko. I feel like I've said her name with every single book this week. We have the Women's History Month Peach Momoko variant with Mathea Cathley. I love seeing her draw Star Wars aliens. She's got such a cool design for them and everything with this Twi'lek.
Okay, so I read Fantastic Four issue number 5. So if you read the last issue, it has been kind of revealed finally what happened with the Fantastic Four that sort of broke up the group for months and months. And it came down to a hard decision Mr. Fantastic had to make. Well, as of this issue, the team is back together and they are on for new adventures. So I didn't really get to read through this. I did thumb through it. What I will say is Mr. Fantastic does some really weird stretching in this, which, I always want. It's like, hey, this guy can stretch to however, let's have him do some crazy stuff. Well, I saw that in the art. A lot of weird stretching in Fantastic Four number 5, and the team is back together. New adventures going on. Here we have the Alex Ross number 1 variant. And then the Alex Ross number 2 Timeless Villain variant.
It's hard to do Super Skrull when you can't see any of his limbs that are
the other
the calling
Fantastic
cards of
Four
him,
stuff,
but
yeah.
very cool. Okay, next up I have Silver Surfer, Ghostlight number 2. This one I also didn't get to read as in depth as I would want, but what I did like from going over it is they do give you kind of a recap on our main character Ghostlight back when he was Al from Silver Surfer number 5. You get a page kind of synopsis of what happened in that issue. So even if you hadn't read that, you do get kind of caught up with why all of this matters and why all this is going on. So, but I will say this giant fight in the stratosphere between the two does not happen, but it's a very nice cover. And we also have this Alex Maleev variant.
Okay, so I checked out Black Panther issue number 15. This is the finale for the series, and I really have enjoyed this series. This has been one of the best Black Panther series
Marvel has the sneakiest finales
I've read going on. So in this issue, T'Challa finally gets to confront Jahai, his old friend and ally, who has totally usurped the kingdom and really messed everything up, trying to take over the world on behalf of T'Challa, even though he didn't want that. So they finally, have their finale. Will it be a battle? Will it be a discussion? You'll have to see. Black Panther, he's a great fighter, but, he's a good speaker too.
Yeah, communicator.
Yeah, exactly. And also in this issue, so will T'Challa be forgiven by the kingdom? He's been banished. He's been treated so badly this whole series.
He's been hit in the head every issue.
What I'll say is don't expect all that to go away so easy. So the question is where will he go now? What will become of T'Challa? You'll get a bit of a hint of that by the end of this. Lastly, you get another appearance of Kaime, who is Tozin's love interest. Because, the battle's kind of over, so Tozin's going home, and there's Kaime. So those of you looking for another appearance of her, she's in this too. This is a great issue, wrapped most everything up while leaving some interesting components out there for more stories.
I'm always surprised when you read something and it's like, this was the last issue? Like, how did I not know that this series was ending?
So there is a variant for this. We do not have the variant to show, though, so...
Okay, I believe the last one I have, and it's one that I only got to skim, but I always have to skim it because I love Silvestri's art. This is Batman Joker Deadly Duo. We still have, this is issue number 5. I believe this is 7 issues. I think there's 2 more left. I'm not positive, but it doesn't say to be concluded at the end. But this one, once again, the art is fantastic. We get some Harley Quinn in this one, which I love. I love each issue. He's kind of brought in another Bat character. So you'll have to wait and see which ones show up in this. But another great issue. And we have the kind of dual variants that they've been doing. So this is the Will Spartaccio Batman. And we also have the Joker variant. I'm not sure which way they're supposed to go.
It is interesting because you think that people would order these, like if you're going to get one, you're going to get the other. But we had more of one than the other ordered. Do you want to guess which one?
I would almost say Joker.
Wrong. More Batman Laughing That Way was ordered.
Wow.
That surprised me too. I thought it would be even or the Joker, but yeah, we had more pre-orders on the Batman one. Okay, so the last one I'm going over is Avengers issue number 66. So this is the final issue for Jason Aaron. This is basically the ending of Avengers Assemble. Will all of the multiverse Avengers be able to come together to defeat Mephisto with all his multiverse power? You will have to read the issue to see. And I will say there is a bit more of it that's going to get continued in Avengers Assemble issue 15. But this is the end of Jason Aaron's run on Avengers, 66 issues. Wow.
That's a good run.
And I will say also there is a new version of Deathlock in this. So, or at least something that is big and says that it wants to be called Deathlock. Now, will this continue on? Will another writer pick it up? Does Aaron have plans for it? I don't know. Felt like it was just more for this issue, but I wanted to mention that. We have two variants I'm going to show you. Here is the Hainsworth variant.
Love these.
And it is a wraparound, so the back you get all the other characters too. So
And there's more of those coming, so jump on board with this.
Yeah, if you need something to do, you got like a doctor's office visit, just bring this. You know, this will take up a lot of time figuring out everybody on it. And then there is the Alex Ross Ultron Timeless variant for that issue too. All right, well, thank you all very much for watching. I hope we've done our job and told you about these issues and prepared you when you go into your comic store to better know what these books are, what they're about, and which ones you want. I want to point out, as always, that we have our website at infinityflux.net where you can order comics from us. It's very simple. You just click on the series you want. You can subscribe to the entire series, or you could just pre-order particular covers you want. And anything that you order this way, you get, oops, hit the wrong thing as usual. You get 10% off. That's our thank you for supporting us. Anyhow, thanks for watching, and we'll be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. Have a good day, and go read some comics.